Israel has attacked the Yemeni port city of Hodeidah.
This is not Lebanon or Gaza, but almost 2,000 kilometers away in Yemen. The target, one of the country's biggest ports and 2 power stations.
As you point out, this hasn't happened in like 50 years the way it's happening now.
Reports from Yemen say at least 4 people have been killed in Israeli airstrikes. Almost 30 people were wounded in the attacks.
And this is really opening up multiple fronts for the Israeli military and other security agencies to manage simultaneously. Israel hasn't really confronted anything like this going back almost 50 years to the Yom Kippur War and the 1967 war. So this is a multi-front war that is opening up well outside of Israel's immediate borders, and no one knows what the next phase of this will look like.
So these live pictures out of central Beirut. This military response from Israel has been extraordinary, whichever way you look at it, and backing it up to the taking out of walkie-talkies and pagers, and then you've got the Hezbollah leader taken out. You've got these hits on Hezbollah, you've got the hits on Hamas, then you've got the Houthis.
The only problem is this, Pete. I think the Israelis have got themselves a forever war. So they're going to be on a war footing for many years.
They probably already had one, though.
They probably already had.
Surrounded by enemies.
Officials in Lebanon say almost 800 people have been killed by Israeli strikes since Monday. The US has described Nasrallah's death as a measure of justice for his many victims, but it's calling again for diplomacy.
Speaking yesterday, the Houthis' military spokesperson Yahya Saraya said they wouldn't stop until Israel ended its aggression against Gaza and Lebanon.
In the past 2 weeks, the Israeli military has continued intensive strikes across Lebanon today, including pre-dawn strikes in Beirut.
And now this morning, the IDF says it killed another high-ranking Hezbollah official. Of course, it comes just a day after Hezbollah confirmed its longtime leader was killed.
The Israeli military says that it has assassinated all of these senior Hezbollah commanders.
The Israeli fighter planes are unchallenged in the skies over Lebanon. They strike targets at will. 2 strikes this evening went back into the same neighborhood where Nasrallah was killed. Israel says a commander in the Hezbollah intelligence operation, Khalil Yassin, was killed. The IDF says Hezbollah and Nasrallah chose violence when they fired into Israel almost a year ago.
Today's strikes in Yemen highlight another dangerous front in a war that threatens to engulf the region.
I don't remember anything like this either, with, again, these multiple fronts happening and no clear end in sight. So this is a really dangerous moment for the region. And it's not clear what Israel's objectives are for any of these multiple fronts they are now engaged in.
But it comes just days after the U.S. proposed a 21-day ceasefire that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu seemingly ignored during his UN speech Friday in New York.
We'll continue degrading Hezbollah until all our objectives are met.
But one military analyst says it could lead to another major escalation, with Hezbollah showing no signs of surrender.
This could be a major war. Hassan Nasrallah came into power because of a previous assassination. There are lots. Hezbollah is a movement. It's more than one man.
The rocket fire continues. Alarms have been sounding all over the north of Israel and central Israel as well, as a ballistic missile was fired out of Yemen. It was intercepted.
In Tel Aviv, people ran for shelter as air raid sirens filled the air.
I've been here for 12 days. I've been very struck by the tempo and the scale of Israel's escalation.
Israel has ascended to the leadership position in the world in the global fight against terror. Israel is leading the world. Israel is fighting the battles, not just of its own. It's defending America. It's defending all the shipping routes in the Red Sea that, as to which, America, Europe, and lots of countries are being attacked by the Houthis. It's all Israel right now, and frankly, they're bringing blessings to the world. They're bringing security to the world, and in America, it's just a vacuum, and it's a shame because while Israel's doing a great job, it really is America that should be leading this fight, not Israel.
But we have Israel now fighting in Gaza, in Lebanon, and tonight in Yemen. So this is already a wider regional conflict. the fear is, will it become a wider regional war? Well, I have to say, if we look at the direction of travel, that is where everything is headed, and we are not seeing any diplomacy gaining traction. Many in Lebanon now fear becoming another Gaza. They fear becoming a long war. We already have 1,000 dead here. I was here in 2006 in the last war. It took a month to get to that death toll. So US military experts are saying this could get a lot worse before it gets a lot worse.
Shockwaves across the world. Hezbollah just confirming that Israel's strike on Hezbollah headquarters in Lebanon killed the militant group's leader, Hassan Nasrallah.
We no longer care what the people think, what the Western world thinks, and how they judge us, and how they label us. We're going to fight back stronger than ever before. Today, maybe he is, as a leader, he did not die. Sayyid Nasrallah does not die. He is still alive. He is an immortal. He is an immortal in what he was and what he continues to be and live inside each one of us. If they believe that they killed one Hassan Nasrallah, they just created hundreds of thousands of Hassan Nasrallah.
Iran sees the network of armed groups it has formed across the Middle East as the axis of resistance. This was the statement of Iran's supreme leader, read out on television after Hassan Nasrallah was killed.
The fate of this region will be decided by the resistance forces with Hezbollah at their head.
Don't let Nasrallah drag Lebanon into the abyss. We're not at war with you. We're at war with Hezbollah, which has hijacked your country and threatens to destroy ours.
This video shows fire and smoke rising up into the sky before dawn today. People abandoned their homes in the southern suburbs of Beirut. Now, these strikes were the most powerful by Israel during nearly a year of war with Hezbollah. The latest escalation has sharply increased fears of an all-out war in the Middle East.
يا زهراء يا زهراء
يا ويلي هربوا هربوا روحوا ايوه
Now, Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei has called for a strong response and also called on Muslims to stand by the people of Lebanon and Hezbollah.
Hassan Nasrallah reached the peak of his popularity after the war with Israel in 2006. He was seen as a hero, not just in Lebanon, but beyond. Standing up to Israel is what defined him and his Iranian-backed group for years.
Last night, the Iranians were, threatening that the Israelis had opened up the gates of hell and that they were coordinating with Hezbollah, promising that there were leaders waiting in the wings to fill the shoes of Hassan Nasrallah. But I got to say, when I look around right now at what Hezbollah has left in terms of leadership, I don't think there's a lot there. I think right now that the Iranians look like they've been beaten, at least on this front. But you've got to remember also, the Iranians have been fighting Israel on 7 fronts. They still have Shiite militias in Iraq and Syria that can be deployed. They've got the Houthis in Yemen that can be deployed. The Iranians have, of course, their own ballistic missiles and drones that they can fire. They did back in April. They can do it again. So this is a big moment.
It's one thing to replace a leader. It's another thing to replace a leader when your entire organizational chart underneath it is gone, which is what's happened with Hezbollah at this point.
When you look at the IRGC, Iran's military wing, we understand that a deputy commander was also killed alongside Nasrallah, and this ups the ante for the entire region. As we wait to see what comes next, we can expect Israeli warnings to civilians already. We understand that gatherings have been limited in the central part of this country, and this is an indication that Israeli officials are concerned about the possibility of retaliation following the strike that killed the leader of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah.
The axis comprises of Hamas and the Islamic Jihad. In Iraq, pro-Iranian Islamic resistance militias have joined the axis. And in Yemen, the Houthi militia. Since October 7th, those groups have all tried to hit the Israeli territory. The Houthis also targeted cargo ships in the Red Sea, a key route for international commerce. Iraq's pro-Iran militants struck a U.S. military base early this year. Those are the groups Iran's leader has called to escalate their fighting with Israel.
It is hugely significant, certainly. We cannot underestimate the turning point in the Middle East, in the geopolitical situation, when it comes to, this assassination of Israel.
We will fight until we achieve victory, total victory. There is no substitute for it.
Now to some breaking news happening in Israel. It has carried out a massive strike. Israel says it was targeting the terrorist organization's leader, Hassan Nasrallah.
Good is portrayed as evil, and evil is portrayed as good. We see this moral confusion when Israel is falsely accused of genocide, when we defend ourselves against enemies who try to commit genocide against us.
Mick, we see that what that attack looks like in that video, as Tom says, it does not look like a normal strike. They meant business, whatever they were going after. What does this mean?
The missile strikes focusing on the central headquarters of Hezbollah in Beirut. Israel claims the headquarters for the Iran-backed militia were intentionally built onto residential buildings. There are fears the attack could intensify an already dire situation in the region.
I haven't seen any strikes that caused the massive cloud of smoke or clouds of smoke that this one did. It was absolutely huge, and Israeli officials saying that bunker buster bombs were used on those residential blocks.
Yet we face savage enemies who seek our annihilation, and we must defend ourselves against these savage murderers. Our enemies seek not only to destroy us, they seek to destroy our common civilization.
While many in the audience walked out.
What hypocrisy, what a double standard, what a joke. Until this anti-Semitic swamp is drained, the UN will be viewed by fair-minded people everywhere as nothing more than a contemptuous farce.
About an hour after Netanyahu left the podium, the IDF says it carried out a precise strike, targeting Hezbollah's central command and leadership in Beirut. Sources tell CBS News that Israel did not give the United States advance warning of the strike.
I have a message for the tyrants of Tehran. If you strike us, we will strike you. There is no place in Iran that the long arm of Israel cannot reach. And that's true of the entire Middle East.
They're worried that Iran could respond through other proxies, as they did just last night. Sirens were sounding across Israel's second largest city of Tel Aviv, a population of 300,000 people headed straight to bomb shelters, as a ballistic missile was fired from Yemen by Iran's other proxy in the region, the Houthis. And so there are a lot of moving parts here. Israel has been faced with a seven-front war since the October 7th massacre.
Iran now seeks to weaponize its nuclear program for the sake of the peace and security of all your countries. For the sake of the peace and security of the entire world, we must not let that happen.
So keep your head up.